The NHL draft is now officially over. The Avs quietly made their 6 picks between the 2nd and 7th rounds today. Let's take a look at what they got. First up, with the first pick in the 2nd round, 32nd overall, the Avs went with defenseman Connor Timmins. In a lot of ways, Timmins is like Makar light. He's an offensive defenseman, always looking to carry the puck, has great speed, and very good offensive sense. While his ceiling is certainly lower than what Makar's could be, the advantage he does have is he's already playing in major junior hockey, and he put up 61 points this season, close to a point per game against much tougher competition than Makar was against. As with most defensemen of this type, his physical game does need work, and while he has been solid defensively in the OHL, he could stand to improve that as well. By taking 2 defensemen in the first 2 rounds, the Avs now have enough defensive prospects to be fleshed out for a while. Not only will their AHL team be nearly full of defensemen next year, but they also have multiple quality defensemen that are unsigned. Moving on, the Avs did not have a pick in the 3rd round, but they made up for it by having 2 in the 4th round. First, at 94th overall, they took Nick Henry at right wing. Henry was a 17-year-old rookie this year in Regina of the WHL, and he absolutely tore it up on the offensive end. 81 points in 72 games is certainly nothing to scoff at, and he plays a very high-energy, hard-working game, not afraid to go to the dirty areas like the front of the net to get goals in. There are 2 reasons he dropped to the 4th round. First, his skating isn't fantastic. While probably not going to be a liability, it is something he's going to need to improve if he does want to keep up with the quick NHL game. And number 2, there are concerns that he might be feeding off some of the other players on Regina. They had Sam Steele and Adam Brooks, who both scored over 130 points this year, so that may be inflating his numbers. Even so, a winger that averaged over a point per game in the 4th round, I'll take that for the Avs every single day. The other pick in the 4th round was one I'm really not sure about. At 114th overall, they took goaltender Peter Kavaka out of the Czech 2nd League. So I don't really follow the Czech leagues at all, but it's pretty safe to say that the Czech 2nd League probably isn't some of the best competition you can get in Europe. That said, Kavaka's numbers are pretty great for that league. He put up a league best 1.41 goals against average and a very near the top in save percentage at .940 across 18 games. Again, small sample size, maybe not the best competition, and it's also worth noting that he is an overager in this year's draft. The Avs' 5th round pick might actually be the most interesting one of the draft, but I suspect nothing might actually end up coming out of it. They took Igor Shiverev with the 125th pick overall out of Russian juniors. Shiverev looks pretty insane. He was arguably the best player in the Russian juniors league, putting up 70 points and was dominant all over the ice. If he had indicated that he would want to come to North America, it's very likely that he would have gone much sooner than he did. And in fact, what sounds like he is actively wanting to stay in Russia and doesn't want anything to do with North America. So, pretty unlikely he actually comes over, but who knows, maybe Varley, Mironov, and Zadorov, maybe even Grigorenko could help convince him, but I'm certainly not counting on it. Avs took yet another overager with their 6th round pick, Denis Smirnov out of Penn State. Drafted 156th overall this year, Smirnov was passed up in his first draft year despite putting up over a point per game in the USHL. This year he put up well over a point per game at Penn State with 47 points in 39 games. Granted, Penn State's schedule was fairly easy this year and he scored a lot of points against bottom of the league teams. But still, it's not easy to put up over a point per game in college as a freshman. Smirnov is a little bit smaller, coming in at 5'10", about 180 pounds, but if he continues to build on the season he just had and increases his scoring as he progresses through his college career, he's absolutely going to get a contract from the Avs and will get plenty of chances to prove himself through the AHL and work his way up. With their final draft pick at the start of the 7th round, the Avs went with Nick Lieberman. He was the captain of Eden Prairie, which just so happens to be the team Casey Middlestat played for. He's the 3rd defenseman taken for the Avs, and with the 7th round oftentimes just being a shot in the dark, taking a guy that's captaincy material is always a good choice. He does have really good stats, 34 points in 21 games for Eden Prairie, but again, that is against U.S. high school teams, so quality of competition isn't going to be the best, so you can't take a ton from those statistics. It appears that he's committed to the Penticton Vs of the BCHL for next year. That just so happens to be the team we got Tyson Jost from before he went to college. And then the year after that, Liederman is going to be going to Notre Dame to develop himself in the NCAA for an additional 3-4 years, playing with other Avs prospects Cam Morrison and Nathan Clerman. He certainly picked the right route for a 7th round draft pick. He's going to have plenty of time to develop his game, fill out his body, and get to be the best player he can be before it's contract time. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the draft. We have set ourselves up well with our defensive prospect pool. Going forward, we shouldn't really have a lack of them as long as we're taking 1 or 2 in all foreseeable drafts, which is something we should absolutely be doing. For the forward picks, I think both Henry and Smirnov are really interesting and could be good solid pieces, at least at the AHL level in the future, and I do think both have potential to reach the NHL at some point. Outside of just taking their picks, the Avs did a whole lot of nothing. I wasn't even seeing any rumors out there at this point. They just kept quiet and got out of there. As I said in the first video, I think that's totally fine. If people aren't offering us a trade that's going to be a win for us, then we have no reason to force ourselves into one. What I would have liked to see more of was the Avs trying to flip picks for additional picks. You saw Arizona do that twice in this draft. Once in the second round with the Flyers, they got 2 additional picks just for moving back 9 spots. They really loaded up on young prospects, and the spray and pray method seems to be working well for a lot of teams recently, like Toronto. Overall, I think this was a solid draft for the Avalanche. I like the selection of players they went with, and I think they're certain to get at least a couple of wins out of this draft. Still, I don't think their work is done. Trade rumors are going to continue to fly around, and it's very likely that something gets done over maybe the next week or during free agency at some point. I definitely wouldn't call it a loss. I'm not sure it quite qualifies as a win, though. Just solid. That is the end of this draft review, day number 2. If you want to check out a little bit more about the prospects, there are highlight videos of some of them down below in the description. The next video will likely be shortly after the free agent friendly, so we can cover who the Avalanche picked up there and what our roster is actually starting to shape up to look like. I'm Rudo3, and a scout's job is not easy.